I appeal to all of you all to explain the motive as to why we have a TDS and TCS objectives. They are not new tax. And people like you, ma'am, who are so experienced in the ground and working together with organizations, where this government is doing absolutely a lot of exercise, maybe many more is required to promote industry. We are also wanting to formalize the economy. Transactions happen, we don't know where the money goes. With the TDS, what we try to send as a message is at least we'll know who's the giver, who's the taker. And both giver and taker, wherever necessary, you're going to pay the tax. And at that time, you're going to reconcile this. So people who have an area of influence, like yourself, Mrs. Ramadevi, I would request you to speak for methods and measures which are being taken up by the government to formalize the economy. And if you start appealing saying, TDS, ma'am, this country will never get formalized, ma'am.
Kind reminder to all, in view of the time constraint, please be precise and concise.
1 minute. There are some things on which FS would like to explain things.
Firstly, you made the point about delayed payments and the enforcement under the MSME Act. Of course, that's a matter under the Ministry for Micro and Small and Medium Industries. But there's one significant announcement which was made in this budget, which I'm not sure whether you have noticed because you didn't mention it. An amendment is being brought to the Income Tax Act by which if payment is not made within the due time to an MSME, then that amount cannot be deducted by the paying organization until payment is already made. So this is a strong incentive for bigger companies to pay on time, because if they don't pay on time, this expense will be disallowed until such time as it is paid. So perhaps it was not noticed, so I'm just bringing that up, number one. Number two, you mentioned issues with the PFMS. So I'll be grateful if you can give me specific instances, if you can give it to the organizers, they will get it to me. Specific instances of where you feel your payments are being delayed through the PFMS. I presume you're referring to central government payments. Central government payments. So can you give me specific examples of where you are feeling this problem? If you can kindly give it, we'll take note of it.
We move forward. Just a kind reminder, kindly be precise and concise in view of the time constraints. The many are patiently waiting for their turn. We'll move on to our next speaker, ma'am. Shri Suresh Kumar Singhal, Vice President, Federation of Telangana Chambers of Commerce and Industry, and Managing Director, Iron Foundry, is our next speaker.
Madam, under the ease of doing business, following to be considered. GST on the scrap procured by the manufacturer should be brought under reverse charge mechanism. Amnesty for one-time settling interest and penalties for year 17-18 and 18-19 arising out of technical glitches and procedural lapse to be provided. Madam, thank you.
Sanjeev, you have something to say?
This is under GST, the amnesty scheme that you are wanting?
One-time technical glitches between 17, 18 and 19.
Well, these are primarily, not budget related, but both these issues, because GST, you are aware, now there is the council. So this demand is there, with us on scrap to have, but then there is not only steel scrap. Please keep that in mind. While the request is with us, there is other scrap also. They are also not in reverse charge. So we have to look at, the other scrap other than steel scrap. So we have noted your request and we will put it up, before the GST Council.
But have you, please have your memorandum or any note that you have prepared passed on to the organizers on this matter of the technical glitches you said in the GST, asking for an amnesty. Do send the request.
We'll send.
Our next question is from Ms. Shubhra Maheshwari, Chairperson, FICCI Ladies Organization and Director, Blue Stones Group.
Good afternoon, Madam. Thank you so much for your time. Madam, a small question. Companies are taxed at 25%, whereas partnerships and LLPs are effectively charged at 34%. Can this be helped? And individuals with income above 2 crores are effectively charged at 39%, wherein when we compare to companies, it's just 25. So can something be done about this? And the limit of 10 crore, which is on long-term capital gains, can that be increased? Because earlier it was unlimited and now it is 10 crores.
Sanjay?
Well, you know, there is actually, please, you know, try to appreciate that when we tax companies, vis-a-vis, you know, when we tax individuals or associations of persons or trusts, there is a significant difference. Because companies, you know, they get taxed twice. Persons do not get taxed twice. So, wanting a parity between persons, individuals on one hand, or trusts on one hand, and companies on the other hand is not fair. And this is not only true for India, this is true, you know, all across you will find the world that companies always are taxed at lower rates, persons are taxed at higher rates, and along with person, you know, association of persons, trusts, because they don't suffer double taxation, they are taxed, you know, at a higher rate. Your second, and we have already reduced it, please keep in mind, of course you mentioned it, we reduced it, you know, this time for the highest, the marginal rate has been reduced from about 43% to 39% in the budget. The 10 crore limit that you are saying for capital gains, see, this is basically a measure to promote. Again, you know, there was a request, I'm tempted, you know, I did not comment earlier, this request came in, you know, not to have a TDS on winnings. You know, we want it for taxation purposes, see, from taxation purposes, income is income. But we want, you know, exemptions or promotions or promotional measures or incentives, whether, you know, it is for savings, whether it is for insurance, for provident fund. Now you are saying, you know, for housing. So this is basically a promotional measure for housing which has been introduced. So one thing, you know, I would like all of you to kindly deliberate upon is that whether giving incentives in an indirect way, because income, as I said, you know, is income, and so, you know, I mean, we would like that it should be taxed, you know, irrespective of, you know, the expenditures that you are doing on various things. So, similarly, you know, this has been an exemption which is given for basically housing sector for the lower classes. Now, 10 crore is already, you know, a very, very large limit. This is an exemption, please keep in mind, to promote. And so, I think 10 crore itself is also, you know, quite a high amount. Thank you.
I now invite...
Just to supplement on the company versus partnership point, because this keeps coming again and again. You mentioned the tax rate on a partnership. After that, that income is not again taxed in the hands of the partner. But the dividend distributed by a company is again taxed in the hands of a shareholder. So actually from a tax point of view, people would be more advantageous in a partnership even now, even with the so-called differential that you are citing. So it's not actually a valid comparison.
I now invite Shri Ravi Kumar Narra, National President, Dalit Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to present his query.
Thank you, Madam, for your support for financial inclusion. In this budget, Saptarishi, the first priority was given to the financial inclusion. And we also thank you for extending the Stand Up India program up to 2025. And we're also thankful to you for taking a review on the quantum of amount funded for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe entrepreneurs. And after your review, Madam, there was a lot of movement among the bankers. But my request is that at higher level, there is a sensitization is taken place. But at lower level, because ultimately the decision maker is the branch manager. So the country has got more than 137,000 branches. So these branch managers has to be sensitized on the implementation of the program, and that will have a more good positive results. And also, when the scheme was introduced in 2016, by your government, madam. The takeoff has taken some time, but now that it is speeded very rapidly, it is the response is coming from these two communities. And at the time, banking charges were very less. But now, over a period of time, the banking charges are increasing drastically, and it has become a very expensive financial assistance scheme being extended to scheduled caste and scheduled tribe entrepreneurs. Example, the following charges are levied by one of the largest bank. The interest rate is high as 11.80%, madam, whereas at the time of introduction, it was 10.25. But now, over a period of time, because of the increase in bank charges and all, so it has increased to 11.8. And the processing fees was not there earlier. Now they are charging 0.4% plus GST. And also upfront fees of 1.40% plus GST also now being charged. And in addition to that, at the time of introduction, there was no inspection charges to be collected by the banker. But whereas now, randomly, the 15,000 rupees per annum is being charged. So these things we request is to roll back to the 2016 rules and regulations of sanctioning the funding, madam. So that will go a long way. And
continue.
yeah. So this program, now the bankers are trying to do very minimum amount, madam. Though it is the amount is targeted as 1 CR is the maximum. So for the purpose of giving the loan, they are downsizing the project cost, and they wanted to do it in 17 lakhs, 18 lakhs. Even now, the average funding, if you take this thing, it is only 17 lakh rupees for average funding. Last time in your review meeting, you also mentioned about the quantum of the amount which is being supported for SC/STs, but still that this thing is there, madam. And also the bankers have got the stigma of collateral security, madam. So that they without collateral, I don't know, the mind block what they have in the bankers. Even if the government is giving so many collaterals, CGSSI is there, CGTMS is there, but the banker never feel that as a guarantee. So for that, the mind block has to be removed from the bankers. So that is every entrepreneur is facing, not only the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe entrepreneurs, all MSME sector is facing. Even in CGTMSC also, madam, though you have increased the amount, that we are very thankful for that, but at the same time, we should also fix a target to give SC/ST communities under CGTMSC also, because this limit is up to 2 crores. But when we go and approach the banker says, you have got only Stand Up India, and the Stand Up India is up to 1 crore only. So some percentage of allotment under CGTMSC also must be focused on funding the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, madam, for the support. And in the Indian history, in the 75 years of Indian independent history, the Stand Up India is the greatest initiative financial inclusion program for the SC/ST communities. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. On the CGTMS, I need to have a review of actually if there's been a inadvertent exclusion of SC and ST. Because most often when I review it, the allocations for different or dispersal for different categories are normally reviewed. But if you feel that SC and STs have not really benefited from the CGTMSC, I need to review it. I will review, but I also want Secretary, Department of Financial Services to address some of the issues that you've raised.
Some of the issues raised by Ravi Kumarji. Some of the issues raised by Ravi Kumarji relates to interest rate and processing fees rate, etc. Actually, these are decided by the bank boards, and certainly, since he has pointed out, we will speak with them and see what can be done. With regard to, ma'am, you mentioned about this